وولي لمن والاكم وعدو لمن عاداكم. فأسأل الله الذي أكرمني بمعرفتكم ومعرفة أوليائكم ورزقني البراءة من أعدائكم أن يجعلني معكم في الدنيا والآخرة، وأن يثبت لي عندكم قدم صدق في الدنيا والآخرة، وأسأله أن يبلغني المقام المحمود لكم عند الله، وأن يرزقني طلب الثأر مع إمام هدى ظاهر ناطق بالحق منكم. وأسأل الله بحقكم وبالشأن الذي لكم عنده أن يعطيني بمصابي بكم أفضل ما يعطي مصابا بمصيبته، مصيبة ما أعظمها وأعظم رزيتها في الإسلام وفي جميع السماوات والأرض. اللهم اجعلني في مقامي هذا ممن تناله منك صلوات ورحمة ومغفرة. اللهم اجعل محياي محيا محمد وآل محمد، ومماتي ممات محمد وآل محمد. اللهم إن هذا يوم تبركت به بنو أمية وابن آكلة الأكباد اللعين ابن اللعين على لسانك ولسان نبيك صلى الله عليه وآله في كل موطن وموقف وقف فيه نبيك صلى الله عليه وآله. اللهم لعن أبا سفيان ومعاوية ويزيد بن معاوية عليهم منك اللعنة أبد الآبدين. وهذا يوم فرحت به آل زياد وآل مروان بقتلهم الحسين صلوات الله عليه. اللهم فضاعف عليهم اللعن منك والعذاب الأليم. اللهم إني أتقرب إليك في هذا اليوم وفي موقفي هذا وأيام حياتي بالبراءة منهم واللعنة عليهم وبالموالاة لنبيك وآل نبيك عليه وعليهم السلام. اللهم لعن أول ظالم ظلم حق محمد وآل محمد وآخر تابع له على ذلك. اللهم لعن العصابة التي جاهدت الحسين عليه السلام وشايعت وبايعت وتابعت على قتله. اللهم لعنهم جميعا. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. اللهم خص أنت أول ظالم باللعن مني وابدأ به أولا ثم العن الثاني والثالث والرابع. اللهم لعن يزيد خامسا ولعن عبيد الله بن زياد وابن مرجانة وعمر بن سعد وشمرا وآل أبي سفيان وآل زياد وآل مروان إلى يوم القيامة. سجود. اللهم لك الحمد حمد الشاكرين لك على مصابهم. الحمد لله على عظيم رزيتي. اللهم ارزقني شفاعة الحسين يوم الورود وثبت لي قدم صدق عندك مع الحسين وأصحاب الحسين الذين بذلوا مهجهم دون الحسين عليه السلام.
أفلح من يصلي على محمد وآل محمد. أعوذ بالله بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخالق الأجمعين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين وخاتم النبيين حبيبنا وحبيب إليه العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى طيبين طاهرين معصومين ولا سيما بقية الله في الأرضين واللعن الدائم على أعدائهم أجمعين إلى يوم الدين. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى أرواح التي حلت بفنائك عليكم مني جميع سلام الله عبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار ولا جعله الله الآخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. Assalamu alaikum to all the brothers and sisters. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept your mourning, accept your du'as, your prayers, and your tears for Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us this opportunity every year until our souls and our spirits have reached this level of purity that we can reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and have this sa'adat, this immortal felicity. We've, in the beginning, spoken about the importance of the lecture, of having the mourning of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, and also the importance of Iman and the role that Iman has on our lives, and the effect that Iman has on our lives, and the importance of it. For the youth to have Iman, how can we make our Iman grow every day? How can we have this growth and what it exactly is? These were said. We spoke about the ideology of Tawheed, and we spoke about the worldview of Tawheed and what it exactly means, what it indicates, what implications, what duties does this have on us as Muslims and as mu'mins. We even spoke about the difference of mu'min, and on the side of mu'min, what is the opposite? We said there's 4 categories that are opposite to a mu'min, and we mentioned them. We mentioned the characteristics of the Ahlul Bayt. And all of these that we mentioned are linked under one word, which is Sa'adat. These are all linked under reaching this immortal felicity. Because as it was mentioned, the reason for all the prophets and all the imams to come on this earth, and the reason of mankind being created, is to reach Sa'adat. We have come to this battlefield of nafs, to battle with our nafs, to battle with ourselves, to battle with these shayateen. Shaitan that is mentioned in the Quran is not just the shaitan which is Iblis. There is shaitan al-jinn wal-ins. Some of these shayateen is these urges that we have, these demonic urges that we might have, that we are supposed to control. So all of these subjects that we mentioned until now was all under Sa'adat. And the continuation from here on, we want to speak about, so after this ideology of Tawheed, is who is Ata'at and Ibadat supposed to be? Who are we supposed to have as our ruler and the person that makes laws, the person that we follow, the person that we pray to and we praise. But before we go into that subject, there's an introduction to this subject. An introduction which sums up all the nights that we mentioned before of Sa'adat and what is Sa'adat. And how can we guarantee Sa'adat? So this is the introduction. Guarantee of Sa'adat. We know that there have been some people in history, and they've been mentioned in the Quran. Some people have been mentioned that they were pious people throughout their lives. These were good people. They lived a life of deen, of purity, of piety. However, they weren't able to continue that piety to the end of their lives. May it be at an elder age, may it be even at the middle of their lives, they completely changed. And the brothers and sisters know that, of course, know some people in their lives that have been like this. We know people, friends or family that we can mention in our lives, that we know that this was a person of piety, this was a person that performed all their prayers on time and gave importance to the matters of deen, of religion. However, something changed in them. That someone that we're thinking about even could be ourselves at a certain time in our lives, that we went astray and we've come back. So it could be any number of people. However, what is the way that we can guarantee sa'adat? We said the importance of sa'adat. Sa'adat is extremely important. We said the reason of creation is sa'adat, of immortal felicity, reaching the afterlife. Sa'adat is reaching the afterlife in a good way, reaching the heavens. And we said that that is what is eternal. This life is not eternal. We know this. We know this with yaqeen, we know this 100%, that this life will end. No matter how many years you stay, 100 years you stay, one day it will end. It is not forever. And the afterlife is eternal. This is the thing that the companions of Abu Abdullah knew. And they had yaqeen, that this life is limited. This life that I have is not forever. The deal that I'm going to make is give this life, which is not forever, and get in return a eternity of wealth of ma'nabi, wealth of spirituality, wealth in the afterlife. They knew this. If we don't know this and we're not sure about it, but we're like, oh, maybe not, this is the problem with Iman. That's why that was an introduction. That's why it was important to mention Iman first. And that's why Iman was important to have it through intellect. It was mentioned intellect, through wisdom, through reason and logic, not just because our fathers or mothers have the same thoughts, or just because, for example, we were brought up in a community which these beliefs and these things were mentioned to us, so we have inherited these. It shouldn't be inheritance. It should be through intellect, logic, reason. Now that this Iman grows, this certainty that there is an afterlife. I know for a fact that there is an afterlife. I know it's going to be eternal. Let's work for it. Now the question arises, how can I guarantee this? We know Shimr, before what he did in Ashura and in Karbala, he's a person that walked all the way to Mecca 9 times, barefoot. He walked the whole way to Mecca. He's a person that would read the Quran through and through. He's a person that in the war of Amir al-Mu'mineen, he almost was martyred. He got wounded in the war. In the war of Amir al-Mu'mineen, he was wounded. What happened to Shim that suddenly he was the person that martyred Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, the beloved of Allah? See this sudden change in a person. In Surah Al-Hashr, in Ayah 16, it's mentioned a person, and the ulama of tafsir, that they translate and narrate and can deduce from the ayahs of the Quran, have understood this to mention Barsisaya Abid. Now Barsisaya Abid was a person which was very pious through long, for example, spiritual ibadats that he did, prayers that he performed. He reached a certain level of spirituality and piety, which he was mustajib al-da'wah. So whatever he prayed for, Allah would give him. So certain people would go and ask that he would cure them from sickness. Story in the Quran. That person would cure them. Some person had a certain, for example, illness, and they would take him to Barsisa Abid, and he would pray, and they would become shafa. They would be cured by Allah's grace. But one day, Shaitan tricked him with a young girl that came, and his brothers brought this young girl so that it may be cured. And after he got tricked by Shaitan, he got scared that people will find out, so he killed the girl. And then buried her so that no one would find out. After, the brothers would come and they would not find her and get suspicious and look around, they would find that he's killed her. So they would take him to the town, and of course his sentence is death. And before he was hanged, Shaitan would come to him and would say to him, say that there is no God and I will save you. I will save you, don't worry, I'll save you, just say that there is no God. Say La ilaha, don't say the illallah bit, just say La ilaha. So to be saved, he said, yes, I confess there is no God. So he died with shirk. No way back. What happens to a person with certain levels of spirituality and piety that they come to a place where there is no return? How can we guarantee it? Are we like Barsisa Abid? Do we have this level of spirituality and piety in ourselves that we can guarantee ourselves heavens? On the opposite side, there is some people like Hur. Before the Zuhr of Ashura, before Ashura, he was condemned to hellfire. But suddenly he was awakened. We mentioned some of the characteristics of Hur, that he had manners, a manner that he showed towards the mother of Abu Abdullah, Bibi Zahra alayhi salam. The manners he showed to Hazrat Zahra alayhi salam, it saved him. Now why is it that someone that was condemned to hellfire suddenly becomes good? Suddenly changes his life. And again, another good example is Shaitan. In the khutbah of 199 in Nahj al-Balaqah, it is said, Amir al-Mu'mineen says that Shaitan performed 6,000 years of prayer, of sajdah, and praying to Allah. But what happened? That he became a mal'oon. What can save us? Can prayer save us, for example? Can namaz, salat save us? Can sawm, fasting save us? Can doing little good deeds save us? The answer is in the Quran. In the Quran, it calls all of these things subul. Subul are these, if we have, for example, a river, and this river has a main course. These small branches that come off the main course of the river is called subul. Now namaz and all these fara'iz, the do's and don'ts of our religion, the fiqh of our religion, without them there is no piety. So we shouldn't take away any importance from that. If someone pretends piety and pretends that they're a good person, a good mu'min, however they don't pay attention to salat, sawm, qawm, zakat, to these things that are the fara'iz of our religion, there is no piety in them. In fact, these things come under the main branch, the main course of the river that we want to mention. What is the answer that we're looking for? All of these answers are under Surah Yasin, ayah 61. هَذَا اِعْبُدُونِي صِرَاطَ الْمُسْتَقِيمِ. That's the answer. Ayatollah Tahriri, Hafazullah, in Qom, he's one of the greatest of teachers right now, in our day and age now. He's one of the grand Ayatollahs that teach and has many different classes. It's narrated from many of his students that the thing that he has an emphasis on is this: هَذَا اِعْبُدُونِي صِرَاطَ الْمُسْتَقِيمِ. Sirat al-Mustaqim, so next to Subul is Sirat. Sirat is that main course. The main course is Ubudiyat. Now they're very close, Ubudiyat and Ibadat. All those things that we mentioned, like Salat, and which are extremely important, they're Ibadat. And they have no meaning without Ubudiyat. Ubudiyat is being Abd of Allah. Is completely and utterly being the servant of Allah. Not giving your own opinion and what you believe in, or your interpretations of Islam and Deen and Fiqh. Sometimes we see these, oh, it's okay if I do this, it's not that important. Allah is all merciful, He'll be okay with it. Allah has said, I want you to pray to me this way. This is what I want. Why are you changing this? Why are you making your own way of ibadat? See, Shaitan prayed to Allah the way he wanted to. But as soon as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told Shaitan, do sajda to Adam, this is the prayer I want you from you. The prayer I want from you, if you want to be my servant, my abd, if you are sincere, then bow down to Adam. This is what I want for you. However, because he was so proud of himself and he couldn't bend his neck to Adam alayhi salam, he thought he was of greater creation, that he's made of fire and Adam is made out of clay. He refused. Now, if a person is true and sincere in reaching Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if he's performing prayer for Allah, then you need to know what Allah wants from you, not what you think is correct, not what you think is the correct way of doing ibadah to Allah. All this intellect and wisdom that we mentioned is all to do with your belief system, with your aqa'id. When then you accept and you have iman that Allah, there isn't God, and He's one. There is no Allah, there's no God but Him. And when you accept the prophets, or when you accept Quran, and you accept all these different things, there is now for you to do ubudiyat, for you to be a servant. Not for you to pave your own way and the way that you deem it's right. This is the problem. Sometimes we Muslims, when we perform night prayer, we become arrogant. We think, that's it, I've done night prayer now. I've gone to Ziyarat to Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, that's it. I'm so pious. There is no way I'm going to hell. Heaven is for me. And they have so yaqeen and 100% they're sure that they will go to heaven that they don't even doubt it. They don't even look into their own actions anymore. These types of ibadah, these types of prayer is not what Allah wants. Allah wants ubudiyat. Allah wants us to say, whatever you command, I shall do. This is ubudiyat. The people that are in the sirat are these people. Whatever Allah says, chash, I'll do it, yes. They don't question it. There's a memory that Shaykh Mutahari, rahmatullah alayhi, says about Ayatollah Burujerdi. Ayatollah Burujerdi at the time, he was the marja of all Shias. All Shias had one marja and it was Ayatollah Burujerdi. There was no other marja at that time. And one night when, just like it was in Ashura, it was in Muharram, before Muharram, apologies. He said to call all the scholars that give lectures and all the maddah and all these people that recite for Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. He said, bring them, I want to have a discussion with all of them and invite them to me, and I want to speak to them. So when they all arrived, this story is narrated from Shaykh Mutari, rahmatullah alayh. When he speaks to them and says, who is your marja? Who is the person that teaches you guys fiqh and tells you what is right and wrong? Everyone confesses to Ayatollah Burujerdi that you're the marja right now. You're the marja of all Shias. He says, if I am your marja, then so many of these things that you say in Ashura, your lectures, have no sanad. It has no correct narrations. Be careful of the things you say. Don't add. Just because it sounds good, don't add to it. Say the things that are 100%, so things that we have good narrations on. Just because a poem rhymes with another one, don't say a word that might not be there. But look into the narrations. And Shaykh Mutari says that one person stood up from the crowd and said, Ayatollah Burujerdi, throughout the whole year, you are a marja, apart from Muharram, apart from Ashura. Leave it to us and Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Is this ubudiyat? Does Abu Abdullah al-Hussein himself want this type of mourning of Abu Abdullah? Putting aside what Allah has deemed right through the marja. The marja doesn't say what he wants to say. He deduces these things from Quran, Sunnat, the ahadith. He doesn't say it from himself. It hasn't come down from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to this marja. He deduces these things from the ahadith, from the Quran. So to say that you are not our marja on these few nights, this doesn't show ubudiyat. This doesn't show the sincerity for even Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. What's the point? Once in Mashhad, I actually experienced one of these people. At nighttime, they started to do latmiya for Abu Abdullah al-Hussein in Mashhad, in the shrine of Imam Rida alayhi salam. They were young boys, and they started to read for Abu Abdullah and started doing latmiya and until the whole night. It was around midnight. It took all the way till morning prayer, and when azan hit, they were still continuing. We said to them, well, let's go pray, it's time for prayer. Oh, we'll go, wait a little bit. So we left them to perform prayer, Jamaat prayer in the Haram. We came back, they were still doing latmiya. They were doing latmiya until the sun rose. Namaz is wajib. Which one is more important? Latmiya is good as well, but you're missing your namaz, your wajib. Abu Abdullah al-Hussein on the Zuhr of Ashura performed his prayer in the middle of battle. And now you're not performing your prayer because of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein? How does that even make sense? How does that make sense that if we say, for example, perform your prayer this way, this is the correct way, Allah will forgive. What do you mean forgive? Do it the correct way. Do it the way that we know to be right. If you're not a mujtahid, then you do taqleed. Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas, Imam Hussein told him, go bring water, he didn't say, I'm a man of war. I'm not one to bring water. Tell someone else to bring water. I'm the alamdar, I'm the one that holds the flag. I'm the general, why should I bring water? He doesn't even question Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. Whatever Abu Abdullah says, chash, I'll go and bring it. Before Imam Hussein has even finished his sentence, he's gone to do what Abu Abdullah has asked. This is Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas. These are the qualities of the followers of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. And this is why he has a maqam. It's narrated that Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas has a maqam that all the shahada envy him. All the shuhada envy the maqam that Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas has reached. The way that we can guarantee ourselves sa'adat is hada i'buduni sirat al-mustaqim. When Ayatollah Bahjat is narrated from many people that have seen Ayatollah Bahjat, rahmatullah alayh, when he says, do your wajibat, the things that you have to do, and go away from sin, do not perform sin, run away from sin, and you will reach high levels of spirituality. This is ubudiyat. This is exactly this ayah from Surah Yasin. It is that simple, brothers and sisters. Islam is not hard. The hard bit is to control our nafs. When our nafs wants something, to say no to it. To learn how to say no, this is the tricky part. However, in its theology, it's not hard. What is hard about that? To understand what Allah wants from us and to do it. If He's told us not to do something, not to do it. By this one act, every day our iman becomes more and more. We said that this was the introduction to the bas of ita'at. We said that if we want to reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and reach mortal felicity, we have to be the abd of Allah. That's why when we perform prayer, the reason when we perform prayer we say abduhu wa rasuluh, we first say abd of Allah, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Allah. The reason that we say that he's the abd of Allah first, it is the importance of this, of that he is Abdullah. This maqam is Abdullah. Now when can we ensure that we've reached Sa'adat and there is no way back? It's related to this topic. However, these are high levels that we're speaking about. In our day-to-day life, we should never ensure ourselves until we are alive that there is nothing going to happen to us and we will have this iman until the day we die. Illa ibadaka al-mukhlasin. So the shaitan says that in the Quran, narrated that shaitan says, I will take everyone astray. Illa ibadaka al-mukhlasin. One of the scholars in at the moment, in his lectures that he gives for Muharram, he spoke about how we can use shaitan to our benefit. It's really interesting, how we can use shaitan for our benefit. And one of the places is this. From this word that he said, the sentence that shaitan has said, we can understand that everyone can go astray apart from ibadak al-mukhlasin. These are the people that don't go astray. But until we reach that high maqam, which is extremely high, we should always be in this balanced, where we have hope, this balance of having hope in Allah, that Allah will guide us and He has mercy. However, not ensuring too much that we are guaranteed. Because when we're guaranteed, we're not careful of our actions. When we come to these majalis of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, the reason we come to these majalis is for Abu Abdullah to save us. He's Safinatul Najah. Us, ourselves, we cannot do it without the Ma'sumin alayhi salam. We can't do it without the Imams. If they help us by their grace, we can reach and we can be saved. Because of course we're not going to leave this earth without sin. But they can help us. They show us the way. So we mentioned this Tawheed. This Tawheed and this ideology of Tawheed extends more than just the duties that it brings. This duty itself extends even more to ita'at, to listening to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, getting our orders from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And ibadat, we pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The ayah that we mentioned yesterday, Kahubbillah, 165 ayah of Surah Baqarah. Ibadat shows hub, it shows love. You should have no love in your heart apart from the love of Allah. And through the love of Allah, we love the Ahlul Bayt and the Prophet. It is His love. And because He loves the Ahlul Bayt, because He loves the Prophet, we love them. Because they are the closest to Allah. Everything is under this ideology of Tawheed. Brothers and sisters, the ayahs in the Quran, the most of all, more than the ayahs that's come for the Prophet, is the ayahs of Tawheed. And the way to reach Tawheed. The importance of Tawheed. What we should do in Tawheed. That He's Hayyul Qayyum. Bank yourselves in what is forever, is everlasting. This is what Abu Abdullah al-Hussein did. Why was Abu Abdullah al-Hussein not afraid at all? Didn't have a single doubt in his heart that when I reach Shaheed, when I reach my death, I will reach Allah. Why is it that Qasim alayhi salam, when he says Ahlam and Asal, this is sweeter than honey, because he knows he's going to go to Allah. That's why it's sweet. He's going to go to his Creator. Of course this is sweet. When Bibi Zainab says that I saw nothing but beauty in what happened in Karbala, because all of them were being sacrificed for Allah. This is the beauty of Karbala. They were all being sacrificed for Allah and the way of Allah and the ideology of Allah, the ideology of Tawheed. This is the beauty of Karbala. This is why Karbala is beautiful. This is why we mourn it every year. The cruelty that happened to these beautiful men. And they did not back down. They knew that this was right. That they were in the army of Allah. They would fight to their dying breath. We said in many different places, for every day of Muharram, they give a certain person to mourn. And it was deemed so that tonight's would be for Ali Akbar. Hazrat Ali Akbar was the same. When he came to Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, he said, Atash, I'm thirsty, O father. Abu Abdullah al-Hussein said, just fight a little longer. Just fight a little longer. You're going to see your grandfather, Rasulullah. Oh my son, just fight a little longer. His Tawheed that Ali Akbar showed at such a young age, he was sure that if I perform this act, if I reach Shahadat, I will reach Allah, I will reach the Prophet, my grandfather. Now this ideology is dangerous for the enemies. They cannot fight with such an ideology. It's an ideology that is a win-win. Brothers and sisters, pay attention to this one bit. It's a win-win. Whether you beat them, you have won in this materialistic world. Whether they kill you, you still have won. Because you have gone to a place where it's everlasting. No matter what they do to you, you have won. This is what happens when you make a deal with Allah. In our day-to-day lives, we should do this. Struck a deal with Allah. Give our lives for Allah and see how your lives will become so beautiful. That no matter what route you take, under the domain of Allah, and that He's happy with this decision, it will be a win-win for you. No matter what happens, whether you reach, it's in this materialistic world, whether you don't, it's still a win-win for you. This is what a smart and an intelligent person does. This is what intelligence in Islam means. Struck a deal with Allah. He is the best partner. He's the best business partner you can have. Because Allah doesn't need anything. Any benefit that He gets from this deal, He'll give it back to you. He doesn't need anything. These are verses from the Holy Quran. That's what happens when you strike a deal with Allah. Let's do this in our day-to-day lives. This is what the companions of Abu Abdullah did. This is what Abu Abdullah himself did. And look at where they are now, like champions. But look at the Lashkar of Yazid, the army of Yazid. Even in their lives at that time, they were not happy. Look into the history. Now the time is limited, we can't mention the whole history. But look into their history. What happened to each of them? What perils did they face one after the other? Were they happy even in this life? Let alone what happened to them in the hereafter. So all of us, let's strike a deal with Allah. Let's strike a deal with Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. Ask him to help us in these beautiful nights. Not just come to have a latmiyah and a cry for Abu Abdullah, which is very good, which is needed, but to become Husseini. These are the times we come and do bay'at with Abu Abdullah. Bay'at wasn't in only the time when they were alive. There is bay'at now. Let's do bay'at that we will live the same way that they have lived. Let's act the way that they acted. Let's make this deal with Abu Abdullah. Let's make this deal with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is what makes our Imam happy. A mourning for Abu Abdullah that changes you in your essence. That from the time that you leave this door, you are not the same person. You're truly in the army of Abu Abdullah. So that when Imam al-Zaman alayhi salam comes, he can use you. You are of worth to Imam al-Zaman alayhi salam. Because you've reached that level of purity that he needs from his soldiers. Tonight is the night of Ali Akbar. And the night that we mourn for Ali Akbar, the oldest son of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Sallallahu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. The day of Ashura has made our tears this tragedy has happened all in one day for Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, but for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah wa adalla dhidana bi-ardi Karbala. The day of Ashura brought difficulties upon difficulties for our beloved ones. فعلنا مثل الحسين فمن يبكي الباب. So for Hussein we should cry. All those who would cry for Hussein, all those who would cry for Hussein, say, Ya Hussein. فإن البكاء عليه يحط ذنوب العظام. Indeed, in this crying, even the greater sins are wiped. In these nights, it seems that the hope we have for our Master is to cry for our Master. The Imam Zaman is going through an extreme sorrow. He can see the story of Karbala unfold. When Ali Akbar alayhi salam would come to his father, he would come to his father and say, Ya Abata, I want to go and fight for you. It's narrated that Abu Abdullah al-Hussein would quickly say, go. This is a test from Allah. He doesn't even wait a second to send his own son for the sacrifice of Allah. Not even a second. Allahumma, the Imam looks towards the skies. This is what he says. The Imam looks towards the sky. Allahumma ashhadu فقد برد عليهم غلام أشباه الناس خلقا وخلقا ومطمئنا برسولك. Oh Allah, this is my son that resembles the Prophet. Ali Akbar is the person that resembled the Prophet, whether it be khulqan, in his actions and attributes, whether it be by the way he even looked. His wajh, his face resembled the Prophet of Allah. This grief is extreme. Abu Abdullah al-Hussein doesn't want to lose his son that looks like the Prophet of Allah. The memories he has with the Prophet of Allah. وَكُنَّا إِذَا أَشْتَقْنَا إِلَى نَبِيِّكَ نَظَرْنَا. This is how precious Ali Akbar. This is how amazing Ali Akbar. How he was beloved by everyone, especially Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. Ali Akbar enters the battlefield. فَقَاتَلَ قِتَالًا شَهِيدًا. This is the grandson of Ali, the bravest, the courageous, young man full of strength. His fight like a lion. His lines, beauty in poetry. أَنَّا عَلِيُّ بْنُ الْحُسَيْنِ وَابْنُ عَلِيٍّ نَحْنُ بَيْتَ اللَّهِ أَوْلَى بِالنَّبِيِّ. I am Ali, the son of Hussein, the son of Ali. We are the closest to the Prophet. We are the closest to Rasulullah. This is when all the brothers and sisters should have tears on their cheeks. بِالسَّيْفِ الْأَحَامِ أَبِي أَضْرَبَ
my father. I strike of youth for the family of Hashim. Ali Akbar killed many, وقتل جميع كثيرا. The battle was one-sided. Ali Akbar was giving everything he had, but at a point he couldn't bear the thorns. He would turn and start coming towards the camps. Maybe they had a little water. ثم رجع إلى أبي وقال يا أبتي أتشو قد قتلني. Oh my father, thirst is killing me. وثقل حديد قد أجهدني. The weight of the armor is tiring me. فهل إلى شراب من الماء سبيل. Is there any way I could get some water? فبكى حسين. Mom cries to him, يا بني قاتلا قليلا. Oh my son, fight a little longer. Soon you shall meet your grandfather, the Holy Prophet. You shall soon be in his grace, in his loving arms, and he will give you from the fountain that you shall never ever be thirsty again. He shall give you the water to drink that may you never be thirsty again. Oh, Ali Akbar returns to the battlefield. He got extra energy from this. He's now ready to fight and carries on with poetry. حرب قد بانت لها حقائق وظهرت من بعدها مصادر. He killed many enemies that anyone standing and wondered what's happening. However, this enemy did not know that this young man has got Allah to go to. This young man has the Prophet to go to. Ya Allah. But what happens? So he gets ready, and Ali Akbar is fighting. He comes near and he sees that he is struck and he falls from his horse. As he falls on the ground, he cries out, Ya Abata, alayka salam, hada jaddi. Here's my grandfather. These mal'ooneen have struck him in a way that he's fell from his horse. This beautiful young man that resembles the Prophet of Islam, this young man that resembles the purest man on earth that has ever lived. He says, Ya Abata, alayka salam, hada jaddi, Rasulullah. Here is my grandfather. As soon as he falls to the ground, the enemy, the crowd encircles Ali Akbar. They take all around him. Ali Akbar, Ya Ali Akbar. All those who had swords would use their swords. If they had spears, they would use spears. Anything they could use to hit Ali Akbar. Irabana, his body was crushed under these spears, under these swords. Ya Badallah, sayalamu alladhina zalamu ay munqalabin yanqalabun. Bismillaka al-a'zam, Ya Allah. جل الأكرم اللهم جل وليك الفرج اللهم جل وليك الفرج اللهم جل وليك الفرج وعافية الناس محمد وآل محمد صلوات.
صلى الله عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي يا رسول الله وعلى أهل بيتك المعصومين يا رحمة الله الواسعة ويا باب نجاة الأمة. صلى الله عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله. صلى الله عليك يا ابن رسول الله. ما خاب من تمسك بكم وأمن من لجأ إليكم. يا ليتنا كنا معكم سيدي فنفوز فوزا عظيما. جرى دمعي لمصرع شبل طه وتاه الفكر في الحزن الشديد. فما أدري أعزي أم أهني علي المرتضى بابن الشهيد. علي بالطفوف أقام حربا كحربك يا علي مع اليهود. وقاتل بكرهم كقتال عمرو بن جد وجد له على وجه الصعيد. وطورا يا علي أعزي فيه وتبكي العيون للعقد الفريد. كأني بالحسين غدا ينادي علينا يا ليالي الوصل عودي. رجوتك يا علي تعيش بعدي لتوسد جثتي رمس اللحود. وتمشي باكيا من خلف نعشي كما يبكي الوليد على الفقيد. وزينب قابلت ليلى وقالت أعيد النوح يا ليلى أعيدي على حلو الشباب وبدر تم شبيه محمد خير الجدود. فخرج علي بن الحسين الأكبر وأمه ليلى ابنة مرة ابن عروة بن مسعود الثقفية. وكان من أصبح الناس وجها وأحسنهم خلقا. وكان عمره 18 سنة وقيل 25. واستأذن أباه في القتال فأذن له ثم نظر إليه نظرة آيس منه وأرخى عينيه فبكى ثم عليهم، فقد برز إليهم غلام أشبه الناس خلقا وخلقا ومنطقا برسولك، وكنا إذا اشتقنا إلى نبيك نظرنا إليه. اللهم امنعهم بركات الأرض وفرقهم تفريقا ومزقهم تمزيقا واجعلهم طرائق قددا ولا تؤذي الولاة عنهم أبدا، فإنهم دعونا لينصرونا ثم عدوا علينا يقاتلونا. وصاحب ابن سعد قتل الله رحمك ولا بارك الله في أمرك، وسلط عليك من يذبحك بعدي على فراشك كما قطعت رحمي، ولم تحفظ قرابتي من رسول الله. ثم رفع صوته وتلا: إن الله اصطفى آدم ونوحا وآل إبراهيم وآل عمران على العالمين ذرية بعضها من بعض والله سميع عليم. فشد علي على الناس وهو يقول: أنا علي بن الحسين بن علي، نحن وبيت الله أولى بالنبي، تالله لا يحكم فينا ابن الدعي، أضرب بالسيف أحامي عن أبي، ضرب غلام هاشمي علوي. فجعل يشد عليهم ثم يرجع إلى أبيه فيقول: يا أبا العطش قتلني وثقل الحديد أجهدني، فهل إلى شربة من الماء سبيل؟ يا بويا شربة مي الكبد أتقوى واريد للميدان وحدي، يا بويا الفطر كبدي وحق جدي، العطش والشمس والميدان والحر. فبكى الحسين عليه السلام وقال: وغوثاه يا بني، من أين أأتي لك بالماء؟ قاتل قليلا فما أسرع ما تلقى جدك محمدا فيسقيك بكأسه الأوفى شربة لا تظمأ بعدها أبدا. فجعل يكر كرة بعد كرة، وأهل الكوفة يتقون قتله. فنظر إليه مرة بن منقذ العبدي فقال: علي آثام العرب، إن هو فعل مثل ما فعل ما أراه يفعل ومر بي إن لم أذكر أمه. فمر يشد على الناس فما كان يفعل، فاعترضه مرة بن منقذ فضربه وقيل طعنه بالرمح فصرعه، فنادى: يا أبتا عليك مني السلام، هذا جدي يقرئك السلام ويقول عجل القدوم علينا. فاحتوشه الناس فقطعوه بأسيافهم، فجاء الحسين فقفز من حصانه عليه ووقف عليه وقال: قتل الله قوما قتلوك يا بني، ما أجراهم على الرحمن وعلى انتهاك حرمة الرسول، على الدنيا بعدك العفا. وخرجت زينب تنادي: وعليا وحبيبا وابن أخاه، وقال: احملوا أخاكم. فحملوه من مصرعه حتى وضعوه بين الفسطاط الذي كانوا يقاتلون فيه. يا كوكبا ما كان أقصر عمرا
मातम हुसैन। हुसैन 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 जिसकी गुर्बत पे सदा शम्सो कमर रोते हैं, है जिसकी गुर्बत पे सदा शम्सो कमर रोते हैं, उसी मज़लूम को हम शामो सहर रोते हैं, उसी मज़लूम को हम शामो सहर रोते हैं, जिसकी गुर्बत पे सदा शम कमर रोते हैं, जिसकी गुर्बत पे सदा शम्सो ज़ारा के लाल तुझे हमद से वन्नास तलक हो, ज़ारा के लाल तुझे हमद से वन्नास तलक हो, हर्फ रोते हैं सभी ज़ेरो ज़बर रोते हैं, हर्फ रोते हैं सभी ज़ेरो ज़बर रोते हैं, उसी मज़लूम को हम शामो सहर रोते हैं, जिसकी गुर्बत पे सदा शम्सो कमर रोते है, जिसकी गुर्बत पे सदा शम्सो कमर रोते हैं, रोता सरवर ही नहीं तुझको ऐ मज़लूम हुसैन, रोता सरवर ही नहीं तुझको ऐ मज़लूम हुसैन, तेरे मातम में सभी जिन हो बशर रोते हैं, तेरे मातम में सभी जिन ओ बशर रोते हैं, है उसी मज़लूम को हम सामो सहर रोते हैं। है अकबर है अली अकबर अकबर है अली अकबर अकबर है अली अकबर, मैं जवां बेटे का गम सह नहीं सकता, मैं जवां बेटे का गम सह नहीं सकता, सांसें तो रवा रहती हैं पर रह नहीं सकता, अंदर से ही घुल जाता है कुछ कह नहीं सकता, जम जाता है नस नस में लहू बह नहीं सकता, है अकबर है अली अकबर अकबर है अली अकबर। रुखसत के लिए खेमे में आए अली अकबर। पुल पड़ गया अब जाता है हम शक्ल पैगंबर। हसरत से बहुत प्यार किया लैला ने कहकर। ठहरो के तुम्हें देख लूं जी भर के मेरे दिल पर है अकबर है अली अकबर। अकबर है अली अकबर। अकबर के जो सीने में अकबर का जो सीने में लगाई गई बरछी वो कीना नफरत में बुझाई गई बरछी। कल्बे दिल हैदर में छुपाई गई बरछी। मादर के कलेजे पे चलाई गई बरछी। है अकबर है अली अकबर है अकबर है अली अकबर। अकबर है अली अकबर। रो कर ये सदा देते थे बेटा अली अकबर। अब मुझको कुछ नजर नहीं आता अली अकबर। हम तेरा सितम दिल पे ढाता अली अकबर।
Let's go to Zainab after the battle. أبيات للشاعر كاظم منظور الكربلائي. Yeah. So يا ابن أمي عالتربان عفتة إكرامية. 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 يا ابن أمي عالتربان عفتة. يا ابن أمي عالتربان يا ابن أمي عالتربان عفتة إكرامية. عين العمى ولا أشوف ذيك المسية. يا خويا خليناك عالغاب رعاري. يا خويا خليناك عالغاب رعاري. غسل فيض دماك والجيف انذاري. يا خويا خليناك عالغاب رعاري. غسل فيض دماك والجيف انذاري. روحي بقت وياك والجيد مساري. روحي بقت وياك والجيد مساري. امشي وادوير العين للغاضرية. يا ابن أمي عالتربان يا ابن أمي أدري بسهم مسموم شبدأك تصوب. أدري بسهم مسموم شبدأك تصوب. أدري بسهم مسموم شبدأك تصوب. وصوابه مقبل صاب والماء فمطلع. ذاك السهم يا حسين قلبي تقطع. ذاك السهم يا حسين قلبي تقطع. سمى الضمير حشاي نار سرية. يا ابن أمي يا ابن أمي عالتربان عفتك رمية. يا ابن أمي أدري الخيل هالشيمة صدرك. يا ابن أمي أدري الخيل هالشيمة صدرك. بيدي على التربان وازدأت نحرك. يا حسين أنا بممشاي حيرني أمرك. يا حسين أنا بممشاي حيرني أمرك. لكن فراقك صار غصبا علي. يا ابن أمي عالتربان عفتك رمية. يا ابن أمي عالتربان عفتك. يا ابن أمي عالتربان عفتك رمية. عين
العمى ولا أشوف ذيك المسية. أفلح من صلى على محمد وآل محمد. هاي خلاص. وإلى أرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات أجمعين سيما القائمين على هذا المجلس لا بأس بذكر الفاتحة مسبوقة بالصلاة على محمد وآل محمد.
Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein. Ali Ali Akbar, Ali Ali, Ali Ali Akbar, Ali Ali, Ali Ali Akbar, Ali Ali, Ali Ali Akbar, Ali. شبیہ پیمبر علی 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 اکبر علی 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 اکبر علی علی اے جانم اے جانم اے جانم نظر اٹھا کے تم کو دیکھو اے بیٹا اے جانم کیوں سر جھکائے کھڑے ہوئے ہو اے بیٹا اے جانم تم ہی تو مادر کا آسرا ہو اے بیٹا اے جان مادر علی علی اے جان مادر علی علی شبیہ پیمبر علی علی شبیہ پیمبر علی 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 اکبر علی 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 اکبر علی علی شبیہ پیمبر علی علی اے جانم اے میرے یوسف جمال اکبر رک جاؤ اے جانم نہ جی سکے گی تمہاری مادر رک جاؤ اے جانم سہیں گی کیسے یہ داغ سرور رک جاؤ رکو اے صفدر علی علی رکو اے صفدر علی علی شبیہ پیمبر علی علی شبیہ پیمبر علی 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 اکبر علی 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 اکبر علی علی شبیہ پیمبر علی علی اے جانم ہے ام لیلا کے لب پہ نوحہ واویلا اے جانم لہو میں ڈوبا ہے لال میرا واویلا اے جانم ہوا ہے سینے کے پار نیزہ واویلا فدا ہو مادر علی علی فدا ہو مادر علی علی شبیہ پیمبر علی علی شبیہ پیمبر علی 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 اکبر علی 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 اکبر علی علی شبیہ پیمبر علی علی اے جانم نبی کی صورت نبی کی سیرت اے اکبر اے جانم نثار تجھ پہ جہاں کی عظمت اے اکبر اے جانم پکارتی ہے تجھے شہادت اے اکبر اے گل حیدر علی علی
ہے گل حیدر علی علی شبیہ پیمبر علی علی شبیہ پیمبر علی 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 اکبر علی 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 اکبر علی علی شبیہ پیمبر علی علی اے جانا پکار کی پدر کی آنکھوں کا نور ہو تم اے دلبر اے جانا سنا ہے زخموں سے چور ہو تم اے جانا اے جانا کیوں ہائے مادر سے دور ہو تم اے جانا دعائے مادر علی علی دعائے مادر علی علی شبیہ پیمبر علی علی شبیہ پیمبر علی 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 اکبر علی 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 اکبر علی علی شبیہ علی علی اے جانا ہے خون کی پیاسی یہ فوج آدھا آ جاؤ اے جانا اٹھار زینب تمہارا صدقہ آ جاؤ اے جانا صدائیں دیتی ہے زہرا آ جاؤ ردائے زینب علی علی ردائے زینب علی علی شبیہ پیمبر علی علی شبیہ پیمبر علی 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 اکبر علی 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 اکبر علی علی شبیہ پیمبر علی علی اے جانا بتاؤ کامل لکھوں میں کیسے وہ منظر یہ جانا بپا تھا کرب و بلا میں ہائے وہ محشر اے جانا اٹھائے لاشا کمر خمیدہ تھے سرور صدائے اکبر علی علی صدائے اکبر علی علی شبیہ پیمبر علی علی شبیہ پیمبر علی 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 اکبر علی 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 اکبر علی علی صلوات
Thank you, brothers and sisters. Time is short. Let's repeat what Zainab alayha salam and Abu Abdullah repeated. Ey Ali Jan, Ey Ali Jan, Ey Ali Jan, Ey Ali Jan. Repeat. Ey Ali Jan, Ey Ali Jan, Ey Ali ای علی جان لاله پرپر من بهترین یاور من ای علی اکبر من میوه دل نور عینم دیده بگشا من حسینم ای علی جان ای علی جان ای علی جان زخم تو بر دل من داغ تو مشکل من قاتلت قاتل من ای شهیدم ای امیدم تو فتادی من خمیدم ای علی جان ای علی جان ای علی ای علی جان ای علی جان ای علی جان تن بریده بریده خرقت از هم دریده، مرغ روحت پریده، هست و بودم، بود و هستم، تو فتادی من شکستم. ای علی جان، ای علی جان، repeat. علی ای علی جان، ای چراغ شب من، سوز و تاب تب من، لب بنه بر لب من، جسم پاکت اربن اربا، جسم پاکت اربن اربا، گشتم مثل قلب بابا. ای علی جان، ای علی جان، ای علی جان، ای قرار و شکیبم، ای قرار و شکیبم، بعد تو من غریبم، داغ تو شد نصیبم، رفته برباد آرزویم، میدهی جان پیش رویم. ای علی جان، ای علی جان، ای علی جان، در کنارت نشینم، گل ز زخمت بچینم، دست و پازن ببینم، دیده بگشا از چه بستی، تا ببینم زنده هستی، دیده بگشا از چه بستی، تا ببینم زنده هستی. ای علی جان، 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 ای علی جان. باسمك العظيم الأعظم الأعز الأجل الأكرم، إلهي يا حميد بحق محمد، يا عالي بحق علي، يا فاتر بحق فاطمة، يا محسن بحق الحسن، يا قديم الإحسان بحق الحسين. Please recite Fatiha al-Ikhlas for the peace of soul of all beloved ones, parents and relatives of all attendees who attended the morning session of Abu Abdullah tonight and in the other nights. Please recite Fatiha al-Ikhlas wa salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah.